My name is Talha Khan, class of 2020, and I am the founder of Seda. We're building the AI-led customer research and simulation platform. We raised 100K from venture capital, and we want to take over the world.
So, what made you choose computer engineering over other fields?
Yeah, look, as a kid, I loved computers. I played video games all the time. I would make video games. So I knew I wanted to do engineering, and I was really good at math at the time. And computer engineering just felt like the right fit between both software for computers and the hardware side, really getting into the nitty-gritties of what a computer is, being able to conduct and build it would give me a better knowledge and understanding within the field. I knew I wanted to go into software engineering, but if I had the hardware side, I knew I could be even better than all the other software engineers. Um, so it was a combination of that together with man, computers are I mean, nowadays, right, with AI, computers are literally, arguably the next frontier of our species. So it was being able to understand the deep knowledge of what it means to be a computer, what it means to calculate and organize things, which is a deep part of our own brain and our genetic DNA, really resonated with me to just understand the nitty-gritties of the hardware together with the software.
Cool. Cool. So, how would you explain computer engineering to somebody like me who has no technical background?
Um, Computer and that phone that you have in your hand right now, this computer that we are currently talking on right now, that is what computer engineering builds. End to end, it is the creator. Um, that Apple chip in your hand, most beautiful phone ever, it costs a lot of money and can do marvelous, beautiful things. All of computer engineering is the end-to-end creation of that, right? Whether it's the AIs in in your phone that you can talk to nowadays, or the Bluetooth devices inside of the actual phone itself, or the communications. Computer engineering merges the creation of computers with the actual applications on top of it together in order to, well, create useful technology for the world. Um, so if you want to make computers and frankly apps and even more than that, make money, that's why you do computer engineering.
Speaking from a standpoint of computer engineering and just engineering in general tends to be a more solitary kind of degree plan than others. So, what soft skills like communications, teamwork, leadership have you learned and then been most valuable in your career?
Yeah. Um, Look, engineering is literally the art of creation. You to create, to invent anything, you have to be able to go beyond the traditional norms of whatever there is in the world and express your unique self. And that's a form of leadership. It takes guts, courage, bravery, ambition, uh, joy, um, to be able to build and create anything in this world. So on the side of engineering, right, it can be pretty solitary because inherently to create anything, you have to be unique in this world. Um, but at the same time, what that does is it trains you to be a leader, trains you to be ambitious, trains you to ask for feedback from people because maybe your ideas don't make sense, or maybe they're incredible and you're a mad genius. Um, and from that, right, I think the work of engineering, even though it can feel solitary because you have to invent new things, the magic is where you invent things together with other people, with other ideas, merging them together and creating a new one of your own. Um, so in that way, although it's a solitary endeavor, what I would say to other engineers is get out of your head, go talk to people, tell them all of your ideas, how dumb or awesome they are, and they will find a way to sharpen you into your unique version of yourself.
When you were a student here, did you kind of fancy yourself more an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm 6'7". I am the tallest, one of the tallest Indian Americans in this country. I played a lot of basketball. I was probably the most extroverted human in all of the campus. Uh,
Okay.
I, for me, it was pretty natural because I played basketball when I was a kid and I was tall and all the things. Um, and I think it served me really well being an extrovert as an engineer because I can go and ask people for feedback, advice, questions. I can speak my mind. I can guide a room, a conversation towards the direction of innovation I think is correct, right? Um, but at the same time, like the role of engineering, you need to be very introspective. You need to be able to listen to other people. So at the same time, I had to train my own introversion in my own head. So I could just sit and listen to people, hear the thoughts, and then merge it together with mine.
So if somebody was inherently introverted, you would kind of go the opposite route of you being an extrovert in school. You would say, work on your not being an extrovert, but just work on the communication skills, work on, kind of team building, brainstorming, things like that. So to make sure that when you get out in the paying world,
Hmm.
you're
Hmm.
not you're not just an island, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there are a lot of introverted people in engineering and technology, right? So like two introverts can kind of create a level of extroversion of their own.
Yeah.
Um, so you don't need to quite, you know, get out there and be an extrovert, but you know, do what you can to match the energy of the people in the room that you're in,
Yeah.
to your best capability, because what it'll do is it'll allow you to understand and gain the knowledge from everyone else in the world. I think a lot of the time introverts like to listen and understand other people. And I see pushing up the notch of extroversion a little bit as a means for understanding other people, which is the same sort of vision and mission for both. So I would say get a little bit more extroverted. It helps you with recruiting, frankly, mostly with recruiting because recruiting is all about who you know. Um, and it helps you with creating and innovating things too. So,
What advice would you give to students who are preparing for like a technical interview?
uh, I can speak to software engineering. Um, uh, so in my time, it was a little bit different because we didn't have AI tools that could write all of our code for us. Um, however, nowadays, AIs can also explain algorithms very easily, very quickly to you and directly for problems in leak code or whatever it is. Um, I I think my feedback is first and foremost, interview prepping for interviews is a slog. You have to shut up and do it. Excuse my language, you have to do it. It's like taking the SAT, like you have to spend the time prepping and like you just have to give it your all in that way. Um and really grind. From there, I think the inside tricks to it is once you've done the easy questions are typically easy. Once you've done the medium questions and you kind of know how to answer them, the hard questions, right, in lead code are really hard realistically. But what you'll notice is that they all have the same pattern of the type of question it is. So a hard question might almost all of the questions in lead code have a specific algorithm they want you to see and get to. So what you're actually doing in an interview for technicality is mapping the algorithms in the world in your head to the problem and seeing which one is the correct one to solve it in the right, runtime, right? So like once you've kind of pattern matched enough, let's say like graph questions, right, for graph algorithms, it starts to become really easy to identify which algorithm on the spot once you've looked at a problem. And then it's all about talking it through and coding it, right? And asking questions with the interviewer themselves because the interviewer doesn't even know the answer a lot of the time either. Um, So I think that's my like slightly cookie cutter answer. Um, but it's a grind. I think the AIs can definitely teach you the algorithms and how to spot them better in these questions and interviews. But you just got to do the reps. And like find a passion for it. Even if it's little, because it can be a slog.
Based on your experience, how many interviews did you go through?
Yeah. So I did a couple. And I think what I did observe was like you need to do like 20, maybe less than that. Like you need to do 10. No, I think the magic number is you need to do 7 of them before you can ace any of them. Because
Mm.
it's about mastering the recruiter style, the pressure in your air when you're like thinking of ideas, the question types that come up and pattern matching them immediately. Doing it, I think, 7 times makes you like basically immortal in the sense of interviews. Like you can answer any interview after the seventh one. I think after 3, you get pretty good and you can kind of master the process. Um, But like I think the thing that I'd give feedback is like just doing interviews, like the process of doing more and more of them builds your muscle for it. So you just have to do interviews and you have to simulate them with other people. And I think there's tools out there in the world that can do that. Um, Pay for it, like straight up pay for it. I think there's a lot of students in the world that like as much as they can to not pay for tools. Pay for it. It is $20 that will make you 150 G's. So,
Outside of the interview prep and the the paying for the tools that will help you get to that point, what would you say that students should focus on during college, during their classes, courses, if they want to be successful in industry?
okay, I'm a little different on this answer, so I hope I can give your
Sure.
students a different answer. And you might not like my answer. The best way to get a job is to not want a job, to be better than the job. What that means is go make your own job. So, nitty-gritties here. To me, I think the best title or experience on a resume is saying co-founder and CEO or CTO, straight up, of something. Whether it's a little app that got like 100 people to sign up or 10,000 people to sign up, right? Um, Go attempt to build a startup, like straight up. Because what it does is it, like, even if you don't do well, maybe your app flops or whatever it is, you will have built an end-to-end app, marketed it, branded it, and like that shows like 5 times more initiative in a specific field and a specific company than honestly I think the interview your interview skills, right? If you build a social media app like straight up and you get 1,000 users, like Facebook is going to give you an interview like on the spot, right? Like so I think just going and building a company, a startup, an app, launching it, doing the end-to-end process of being that kind of an entrepreneur gives you the skills for the end-to-end engineer. Even beyond, you could become a product manager too. Um, and that I think is the most valuable thing I think any of the students at UTC should do because frankly, if your app gets 50,000 users in a week, you can go raise venture capital money, $2 million, and pay yourself and have your own job and be worth like $10 million because literally you're Mark Zuckerberg at that point. Like I'd rather be Mark Zuckerberg than have a job at Google, right? So that's like my meta advice. I was the co-founder of a startup incubator on campus. Um, and like that went miles ahead. And then when I graduated, I went full-time building a startup too. And then when I did my interview with IBM for associate product manager, I like didn't like I walked in so calm because I didn't like I was gonna build a startup anyway. I didn't mind, right, the outcome of the interview. So it kind of grounds you if that makes sense.
Absolutely. If you could give one single piece of advice to students as they're graduating, getting ready to go to be an engineer in whatever field, what would you say?
In the end, no matter what kind of engineer you are, all that matters is how much influence, impact, and utility your engineering had in the end. Whether you made a button that influences 2 million people at Google, or a social media app that got 50,000 people, or a mechanical pulley that makes construction workers do less work. Um, every layer at in the ladder, whether you want to be a founder or stay as an engineer, as a director of engineer in your later life, it's all about how much impact your stuff has in the end. So maximize for building things that change the world, that impact stuff, that have higher numbers of power and whatever it is and influence, and know where you are in this moment and write out what exactly is the next barrier, right? If you've built an app that got 100 people, the next layer is 1,000. The next layer is 100,000. If you built a pulley that could pick up 50 kilograms, the next one is 100. The next one is 1,000. Um, and that will carry you along your life for any field, any career, any endeavor.